For more insight into Mr. Obama's trip to the region, to the Middle East region rather, I'm now joined on the phone by Professor Marvin Weinbaum, scholar in residence from the Middle East Institute in Washington. Mr. Obama has seen the reality on the ground in Afghanistan and then has come to this conclusion that the war in Afghanistan deserves urgent attention and needs more troops and resources than Iraq. What are those elements, in your view, affecting Barack Obama?
This is actually a position that he's had for some time, and by going to Afghanistan, he is simply now reiterating what he has said earlier, the belief that the real fight against global terrorism resides in Afghanistan and the border with Pakistan, and that Iraq was a distraction from that, and that now it becomes clearer, particularly as things become less violent in Iraq and become more violent in Afghanistan, what the price of having neglected Afghanistan is.
Now, is this shift in policy simply bringing the war in Iraq to Afghanistan?
Well, it's, after all, the UN sanctioned actions in Afghanistan have been going on for 7 years. It's a question of now attention and actually facing up to the problems that Afghanistan it now offers because of the fact that it was, in effect, a forgotten war. No, I don't think that this is a change of policy, and in any case, Barack Obama would not be able to make that policy unless and until he becomes the president himself. Right now, all he can do is make this part of his campaign, where he's trying to demonstrate that his party and himself are competent when it comes to foreign affairs, and that they are not shirking from the challenges of terrorism.
Now, Mr. Obama spoke of a strategic error the Bush administration has made regarding Afghanistan, saying that the Afghan people are now actually paying for that mistake. What is this strategic error? Is it not paying attention to the Taliban in Afghanistan or paying much attention to al-Qaeda in Iraq?
Well, it was the assumption or the idea that the Bush administration tried to convey that the source of international terrorism was very much related to Saddam Hussein and Iraq, when there was never really any indication of a major presence in Iraq of al-Qaeda. It's very clear now that the main command and control for al-Qaeda resides in somewhere between Afghanistan and Pakistan, very likely in Pakistan. And so that is the strategic error if the objective was to deal with global terrorism.
Now, there have been suggestions that al-Qaeda-linked insurgents are leaving Iraq for Afghanistan. Do you think al-Qaeda has been convinced to give up the fight in Iraq and move to the war on a different front?
Well, again, I don't think that they were ever the factor. There's an organization in Iraq called al-Qaeda in Mesopotamia, and it actually is made up mainly of Iraqis and not foreigners. Now, there have been some foreigners who have come in there, but it was General Petraeus, American commander in Iraq, who suggested that now the numbers indicate, according to his information, that far fewer foreigners are entering, but even then the numbers were relatively small, but that now those foreigners are going to Pakistan. In fact, the influence of the war in Iraq, particularly the use of suicide bombers and explosive devices, improvised explosive devices, as they're called, that seems to be a method of warfare which was learned from Iraq and was only lately, in the last, say, 2 years, picked up in the Pakistan-Afghanistan theater. So there has been communication and people moving there for some time.
Professor Marvin Weinbaum, scholar in residence from the Middle East Institute in Washington, many thanks for joining us.